Perfect. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks for jumping on, everybody. It's a very busy Monday today, so thanks for your patience, all your hard work over the weekend. I know there's a lot going on right now. So, we've got a fun topic today. I actually kind of posed it to our sales managers over the weekend saying, hey, you guys are in charge. What do you guys want to talk about? What is kind of what's in the marketplace right now? What are people having challenges with? Those types of things. And this is kind of what prompted today's call, where we're talking about changing the narrative. So I'll introduce Virginia and Candace and Emily. They're on the call here tonight, and this is all about the scripting, things we can share with our clients, those types of things, messaging. How is it different now than it was maybe a couple years ago? It's a different market than it was then. So I'll let them kind of take it from here. If you've got questions, so a little bit of housekeeping, if you've got questions while they're speaking, if you're shy, go ahead and throw it in the chat and I will ask the question for you. Otherwise, we'll just open it up for questions at the end and we'll go from there. So thanks for jumping on, you guys. Hi, Virginia. Hi, Candace.
Hey,
Hello, hello. Happy
we're
Monday.
and hello, Emily.
Hi.
So excited to have everybody tonight. So, who's got
Perfect.
the slides?
I'm your Vanna, so you guys tell me
Oh,
when
hey,
to
Vanna. Woohoo.
go.
Okay, so we've all heard a lot of different things, and that's what our clients are hearing. And what we are talking about is how we change that dialogue. If we look here, Shannon, if we look at 2022, we can see that sales index was all the way up here. In 2024, it dropped down, and you can see here that we're actually popping back up. So actually, our market is actually pretty strong and kind of where it was back in 2022. And you can also see the same thing with inventory. Inventory dropped and then it spiked up, but you can also see it's leveling out here. And the problem is that what people are hearing and in interpreting is that they feel like the market is frozen, like nothing can happen. And that's what we're hearing, that's what we're feeling, that's what our buyers and sellers are feeling. But the reality, guys, we have selective activity. It depends on where you're at, what little micro community you're belonging in, where you're selling, where you're buying, but this all means leverage.
Yeah, and I think Candace and Emily were both talking about, do multiple offers still exist, or are we back to a buyer's market? I guess what can we share with people with have those questions, right?
It depends where you live. It depends on the house and the property. Emily had one where she got 7 offers. I had helped another agent this week with a property in Seattle, got 20 offers. It was, I would say, slightly priced below, but then you have other properties that just aren't moving. And so you have to look at who your buyer is today and does your property appeal to that buyer? And if not, then how do you move forward? And why are people hesitating? They're a little bit frightened, guys. They're frightened of what everything is out there, what the news is saying, what the newspapers, nobody reads newspaper anymore, what social media is saying, all those things. They're making the wrong decision. They're afraid of that. They're afraid of loss. They're afraid of regret, and they're feeling overwhelmed.
Right.
Mm.
It's true. It's true. But it's still true today that what 79% of people believe that it's a great time to buy, that home ownership is still a thing. It should be a thing.
It is
So,
the fastest way to get out of is the fastest way to build wealth consistently.
yeah.
This is you, Miss Candace.
So, we've been here before. I know you guys, I've talked about the D's, and the D's are here. So, when we're seeing the listings and seeing the people that are actually making moves, what are the real motivators when you're having your conversations with your clients? Are you listening for the cues, right? I've talked to tons of top producers that have listings. I mean, we've got a group that's probably got 25 homes ready for the first quarter of the year to list. What would they tell you that the main driver in their listing activity? Unfortunately, it's death,
Mhm.
it's divorce, it's downsizing, right? It's families that are moving from one location to another. So you've got your deployment. And not just, deployment by way of military, that's happening as well, but people are wanting to move to the others over to our friends over on the east side, right? Over in the Spokane, Idaho area. So we've got a lot of deployment going on. Diapers. You've got new babies. They've outgrown the house that they're in now. So they want to buy a new house. They're looking for that step up for the next 7, 10, 15 years, however long that's going to be. Diamonds, right? Marriage. I called one of my clients, actually, he called me. I missed that opportunity, but he did get my magazine last month. And he called me and he said, "Hey, Candace." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?" Devante, he said, "I got engaged." I said, "No." I said, "What? Did you have a baby?" "Did you have a baby?" And I didn't get the memo. He said, "No, I got engaged." And we found a house that we love. We just were out kind of shopping, just window shopping, rolled into a new construction community. He he's got to sell his house and his partner needs to sell their house. And so they're listing their houses and buying a new construction home. Divorce, we've seen it quite a bit, definitely sometimes challenging. I've talked to many of you that are listing homes and it's divorce, your diplomas, and then debt. Debt is another kind of factor. You're not going to hear that right away, but when you dig into conversations and you hear people, your clients, you're listening for debts. Some clients are at a place right now, they need to sell. They need to sell, right? Because of debt, or selling will help them get out of debt and they can do a reset, what have you. So listen for the D's. Which of those conversations are you hearing or are you having right now with your clients? Pick up the phone, give them a call. They're not going to just tell you, especially the debt and divorce. They don't want to just pick the phone and say, "Hey, I'm in big debt." But if you pick up the phone, reach out to them, have the conversation, listen for those cues.
And it may not be, like you said, Candace, it's not something that's going to be written right on their arm or their palm. If you call them out of the blue, it might be just saying something as simple, you know, last time we talked, you were doing X, Y, and Z. How's it going? Give them something to respond to, and they're going to respond back. And they are going to share with you because you've already had that moment of trust with them.
Right.
So
Okay.
we want to sell, but we hear it's a buyer's market. Yes, buyers have more options right now. That means pricing and presentation matter more, i.e., videos for your listings. Serious buyers are still purchasing, especially when life requires a move. Tie it to the
So,
deeds.
yeah, tie it to the D's. Is something happening in your life that's prompting the move? Find out why, ask the question. The bigger question for me is what's prompting you to consider a move right now? So that context matters more than what the label that we put on the market, right?
It matters way more. I've had two clients right now. One, her husband passed away a year ago, and another one, they're having their second baby. They're going to have two under two. Oh my goodness. And they wanted to, they thought they needed a newer house. But this is where we put our advisor hats on and listen to what the questions are. Because after we listened to the questions and sat and talked, it turned out that they wanted to buy a new house. They wanted a smaller payment. So it actually didn't work out that they need to sell their house. They just needed to refinance, and rates have come down enough where a refinance made a massive difference, a $600 a month difference to their what they were putting out. So it's asking those key questions.
Let's see. So
We
here's
have
this objection. I like this one. We have to walk away with $100,000 or we cannot sell. We just can't. Okay, so now you, Candace, have to be a magician and make sure, and you've got to work the opposite way that you do as a listing agent, and you've got to make sure that we can walk away with this amount. That's a hard place to be. And you guys, it's not usually about greed. And sometimes it feels that way. But what it's about is what that money represents in their next chapter. So clarity is going to reduce the anxiety. um this same family that is getting married, and I need to sell my house. When we talked about him buying his house 5 years ago, what he purchased for, and before I did a whole market analysis, he gave me a number. He's like, I'm sure it would be great if I can list it and get just a little over $420,000 for it. I'm like, you know what, that's great. Thanks for letting me know where you want to be. But I was able to tie it back to the excitement of this new construction home that they found. Um, and when I came back to him, you know what? I'm so sorry, Dee. We're not probably going to be able to get you more than 420. We're going to need to list below 400. And that's where it's going to be. And just that moment, I paused, I was quiet, and I said, so as much as I want to sell your house for 420 and maybe list it for 420, that's not going to be the way to go right now. We're going to need to list it below 400,000, and we're going to need to do these things to make sure it sells. And here's why. And so I sent him, active listings that are still on the market for 420, fully remodeled, everything, all new appliances, everything. Nothing that he's done to the house at all. So really having those conversations, our conversations are going to be longer, but getting the clarity. Why did he want 420 for it? Because he told me, he's like, it's going to help him with the down payment on the new house, and he wants to be out of debt completely. Not going to happen. He will walk away with some money, but it's not going to be the extra 30,000 he wanted, right? So is the move connected to something specific? Is it like retirement, family change, or financial restructuring? Like Virginia had her situation. They wanted to sell, but actually turned out they didn't really need to sell. They just needed to refinance. Um, Script number two, let's look at the numbers clearly and step back and ask whether the timing supports what you're trying to accomplish. You will have more conversations where it's, you're spending time, you're spending some energy, right? And maybe timing is not now. Maybe it's later, right? Just because it's no right now doesn't mean it's always no. So,
And I
um,
think that's where we kind of get stuck, Candace, because we're so excited to get something on the market for people or help them buy something that we kind of sometimes maybe skip over this, like why are we really doing this? And really and mapping it out for people. I think and that's a tough one to get past, right? And so just take the time to ask the questions. We're advisors, and I think that if we start looking at ourselves like that regularly and take us out of the sales position, more in the advisory position, these things will start coming easier, I think. Maybe.
yes, I agree. I agree. And Shannon brought up a great point is those seller net sheets too,
Yep.
you know, tying those in and making sure that they see the numbers because like I said, sometimes I'm like, where did you get this number from? Did you just pull it out the sky or what? Make sure that they see and understand the cost of listing and,
Mhm.
what that amount is. Sometimes they might be getting more than what they
Yeah.
expected.
I almost all the time, almost, I would say 90% of the time, lead all my listing appointments with a net sheet now. It solves a
Hmm.
lot of issues. One of them being how much I'm getting paid, and the other one is that it helps set the expectation.
Right away. Right away. Yes, I agree.
So rates are still too high. So if we look here at 2022, we were at 6.8. We went to 7.2. And as of today, we're just slightly below. At some point today, we were slightly below 6. So are rates really still too high when historically we know the historic 75-year average is 7.4%. So rates fluctuate. Life transitions don't. Wait. Babies don't wait, job transfers don't wait, you know, death, unfortunately, it doesn't wait for rates. If this move connects, sorry, I mean,
It's true.
Divorce doesn't either. If this move connects to something important in your life, we can structure around the rate. And then the other one is rates are one piece of the equation. What matters more is whether this move aligns with what's happening in your life right now. If the move is important, we can be strategic about how we structure the purchase or sell. If the move isn't important, then the rate conversation doesn't really change anything. So people will always buy the why, not the what. So dig into that emotion and dig into the why. Because I mean, for my clients, they really it turned out because she was going to be a stay-at-home mom because they couldn't afford daycare for two. So their why was they were feeling crunched about money. So by just having a deep conversation with them and connecting them with the right people, we did list the house for a while because they were stuck on listing, and I'm like, honestly, I don't think this is the right move. And after they thought about it, they're like, you're right, this really isn't the right move. And so it's about what's important and the why.
Love it. Oh, this one. There is too much going on politically. I've had this quite a bit. And my big thing, there's always something happening
Hmm.
nationally, but still people still need to relocate. They're retiring, they're still growing their families, and we just start adjusting to life. So this is where, again, you can tie into the D's, what's really happening in your world right now. If you cut off the noise, you turn off the TV and stop watching all the news, what's happening right here, right in your world. Um, there's always something happening in the world. What I've learned over the years is life doesn't pause for stability. The question isn't whether the world feels uncertain, it's whether this move still makes sense for you given what's changing in your life right now. And I think Virginia just said it. Yeah, 100%. What's happening in your world right now? Focus on what you can focus on, and on both sides of the coin, whether you're listing a house or you're working with a buyer, who's feeling uncertain about purchasing a home, right? I mean, how long do you want to wait for something to calm down before it's time for you to build generational wealth or
Hmm.
start a home and investing into yourself? I had one young man who said, rates are too high. I don't want to pay 7% interest rate. That's crazy. And I'm like, no, what's crazy is 6 years, you've been paying 100% rent, and none of that money is coming back to you. That's what's really crazy. Tie it into what makes sense for them at the time. If
Hmm.
buyers can afford to buy, don't worry about the rate. I mean, don't worry about the rate. If you can afford it, buy the house. And, I think we need to come back to a focus of how long will you be here? What are your plans? Are you planning to buy this house and move in 5 years and expect a huge profit and flip? If that's the case, maybe it is not right. But if you plan to be here for the next 7 to 10 years, you will build, and it's investing. Your money's growing, you're building equity. Those things are happening.
Inflation proof. We had
Inflation proof.
I had one of our mentees. Her and her husband didn't own a house. They wanted to buy a house, and her husband really was nervous about it. And so I had her go home and figure out how much rent they'd spent in the last 10 years of renting. And I
Mm,
asked her to do that assignment with her husband. And she came back. She goes, Virginia, we spent $280,000. And I said, where's that money? She goes, we don't have it. I said, exactly.
somebody else does.
And so, you know what? They bought a house and they moved in, and it was painful. It was scary, and that's okay to have that fear. Our we're supposed to help support them during this. So it's interesting. Even as real estate agents, we don't even that sometimes.
Am I
We all
pausing?
got quiet all of a sudden. Sorry. Your role as the advisor, and I will say this till I'm blue in the face. Maybe we should all get t-shirts that say advisor, real estate advisor. Headlines create hesitation and life creates the decisions. Fine tune your value proposition. Why do people trust you? And please don't tell me it's because you like to look at houses. They don't trust you because of that. They trust you because of your knowledge and your honesty and what you bring to the table. They don't care if you love to tour houses with them. They don't care if you just, that isn't what they're looking at you for. They're looking for you to hold their hand through a process that they maybe do once or twice in their life. We do this every day. So we need to show up like that.
I love it. I love it. And the other thing is like, that I wanted to say, when you listen to the news and all the noise, all the other things, you have to remember that that's dealing with consumer sentiment and not the actual facts. You guys, we have access with our title reps, with the Northwest MLS, Info, Sparks, all of that data that's out there. That is
We have
factual
access.
data. The stuff that's on the news is just steering on consumer, what they want to hear and what they want to raise awareness of. And it's not normally to help 100% our consumers and our buyers and sellers.
You know,
It's
if
it's
it,
feeding a frenzy of fear and other things that are not necessary at all. At
I
all.
used to work for a newspaper a bazillion years ago, and the rule of thumb was if it bleeds, it leads. And that's news. That's the news cycle. They're there to capture your attention. And so we're there to advise. Even one of our reps that came and talked to us one day, she said, with these rates so high, and I stopped her, I said, actually, I don't think the rates are that high right now. And so I think we all get caught up in that cycle of repeating a narrative. We get to break that narrative. We get to break the cycle.
Yep. Yeah. So even as an agent, be careful when you say it. I mean, we're talking to agent, I talk to agents all the time. It's like, oh, the rates are high. The rates are high. Let's not say that anymore.
No.
They're pretty normal, especially if
And
you look over the last 20 years, you will see they're normal.
yeah, we're actually going to put a jar in both Tukwila and Sumner. And anytime you say the rates are too high, you're going to have to put money in there.
Oh,
We're all
is
going
that
to have a good lunch one day. I'm
quarters or
pretty sure of
dollars?
it. So, yeah,
Wonderful. Let's see here. Any questions? Are we at the end? We're at the end.
we're at the end. We did pretty well. Do we have any questions? Anybody have any input? I mean, I like Candace and my voices. We have good voices, but we'd love to hear you guys.
Hey, Virginia, Patty here, and thank you so much. That was very well done.
Oh, thank you.
I
How are
just want to
you?
say that I lived in a day when we had 19% interest. I kid you not, 19%. So anything under, we were celebrating 2 years later when it dropped down to 11%. So you guys know nothing about where interest rates can go. So
Mm,
yeah.
no, thank
That's
you for
true.
saying
That's
that because
true.
it's true.
No, it's true. Yeah.
And I think I'll echo your guys' sentiment. There's a lot of buyers, they need an agent that is excited for them. It's been so doom and gloomy, I think, for buyers over the last 6 to 8 years. They need someone positive and excited for them. It is a big
Yes.
deal to buy a house, and we want to help them. We want to make sure it happens. It is a big milestone for their family, for their generational, everybody. It's a big deal for their family, for them to be buying a home. And like Candace is saying, it's 100% interest if they're renting. So if we can turn that for them, or we can build them generational wealth through real estate, then let's just keep that positivity for them this year.
Yes. And also, even if you have to tag team with your mortgage lender, ask them for help. Ask them for help. A lot of times they can help um, as well. So it's what I'm working on. I've got a buyer right now who doesn't want to pay 7%, but we've been going through this for 6 years and I'm about ready for him to buy it. I'm over it.
Time.
The good news, they're below 7% today.
They are below 7%. Yes. So,
Okay, and just to let you know that the materials they're using in the products for building homes today is so much more superior than the homes that were built, say, back at the turn of the century. If you want to do comparison of items to items, homes to homes, there's everything, every reason to be excited about people being able to buy a home and have home ownership.
Yeah.
Hundreds of reasons.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't have, with the newer construction, at least Patty's right. It's like that turn of the century was a rough year for houses with all of the recalls and things like that we had back then. So,
Right
yeah,
on.
yeah, I'm grateful to have inspections. I think most areas right now, we are having inspection contingencies again. Hallelujah. So, if you need help navigating an inspection, I know we had a couple today, that called in being like, "Oh, what do I do? Let's talk strategy. I'm up against multiple offers. There's a seller procured
Yep.
inspection." That's what these ladies here are on the call here to help you guys with. So if you've got questions about that, you have a client you're working on, you want to win a deal. I mean, let's get another eyeballs on it and see if we can win some more homes for people.
Yeah. Anybody, any other questions? Boy, quiet group.
Hey. I
Um,
know we
no.
got some shy ones today, and that's okay. So I think that gives us a wrap. Thank you, Virginia. Thank you, Candace and Emily, for joining in today. It's good to hear from other people. Probably it's good for you guys to hear someone's voice other than mine for a change. And this week we've got a listing boot camp. So thank you for those that are able to jump in for that. That'll be really fun in person listing training. If you want to be a little last minute addition, let me know. Send me a text message later tonight. I'll send you the link. But we've got some good webinars coming up the next couple Mondays, stuff that I'm really excited about. It's new, it's new changes and things like that. I had a couple questions too over the weekend from people talking about the forms changes for Washington. We've got a recording on that. I would say the high level, so you won't have to necessarily take the training from the Northwest MLS if you want to avoid that, kind of see just the high level. We've got that recorded on our website as well. So thanks, you guys. Have a great week. Good luck. Hopefully, you guys are able to win some more transactions. Flip the script with some of those
Yes.
buyers this week. And let's keep it positive. I think there's just so much doom and gloom that's out there. People want to work with people who are positive. So let's keep that kind of outlook.
let's be the sunshine.
Yeah. Thanks, you guys.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a good evening.